Come on in, you guys. We got a brand new episode of Jimmy Rants for you here today. JimmyRants.com is the website. JimmyRants.com. And so go check it out, you guys. That's where all the fun begins. And if you want to engage live in the content, you got to go follow me. I'm over on Instagram Live. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage live in the content. We do go live with Jimmy Rants Monday through Friday Eastern Time at 11 a.m. Sometimes we do 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We're no longer doing the weekends, so if you're used to seeing me on the weekends at 2 p.m., not anymore. Jimmy needs a break, and I've learned my boundaries are Monday through Friday is a lot of Jimmy Rants, so we're going to pretty much stick to that Monday through Friday schedule. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours on Instagram, pop on over to JimmyRants.com. You'll see all the past episodes. We also put them up on YouTube. If you put in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. So it is Friday, you guys, and on Fridays I have made it the tradition on Jimmy Rants to literally make this an Ask Me Anything, where you get to ask me literally any question you want. Now, I have expertise in the world of keto, obviously, and low-carb diets, also cholesterol, fasting, podcasting, book writing, being famous online, what that's like, dealing with haters online, or pretty much anything you want to ask me personally. I've got a lot of kind of things that are in my noggin that I would love to answer your questions about. So if you think you got a question, write it down there. We're also simulcasting over on my Facebook page. Come on in, you guys, as well. So please ask your questions. But I wanted to bring up one thing, because usually when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to Instagram Live, which this feed is also going on YouTube. I'm also talking to my Facebook Live page with my personal page, but I usually have in the middle my Livin' La Vida Low Carb page, which has about 50,000 people. And today, when I opened up the browser to open up this to go live, well, actually, even before I went live, I was trying to post something on there, and I got this message: please verify your primary country location. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I start doing that, and they want your enable location services. Okay, that enables the GPS in your phone. So I start doing all that, and I go through the whole process, and at the end, we cannot verify your location, thus you cannot publish on your page right now. I replicated it 7 times trying to get it to accept, and this is the error message that it keeps showing me. So I am literally not permitted at this time to post on my Livin' La Vida Low Carb Facebook page. Now, I don't know why. Is it censorship? Is it something I said that maybe they didn't like? I can't believe it would be something like, confirm your primary country location so we can confirm where you're based. If it's country location, I mean, literally use the GPS in the phone with the location services. You can see I'm clearly in America. But isn't that odd? But that's what I'm dealing with. So we have one Facebook page today, and of course Instagram. So thank you guys for being here. I've got a couple other things I want to share. California is dealing with something pretty interesting. There is a county in California that has been criticized because they're limiting online worship by not allowing any singing. So in Mendocino County, a coastal county with about 86,000 people, they have banned churches from singing while recording online worship services unless they sing from home. So because of COVID-19, there's a lot of us having to deal with being at home and watching our worship services either online or on television somehow. So they issued this, ironically, last week on Good Friday, which was this just days before Easter. They were extending it through May the 10th. And so they were trying to shut down people that were on like a worship team from singing praise and worship music. Now, I get it. When you sing, it's a little more explosive with spit and stuff coming out of your mouth. I guess they were worried about them being too close together to maybe infect each other. I don't know. Like, there wasn't people in the crowd. It was just the worshipers on the stage. But they're like, if they were in their individual homes and all on individual, but if you're a singer, you know you can't do that. You kind of need to be close proximity so you can hear each other. But even like close proximity, you could be 6 to 8 feet apart still be on a praise and worship team. I've done this before in churches. I've been where we separated pretty far away from each other, and you can still hear if you've got a monitor. And so, crazy, right? And of course, it caused such a stink with the Southern Baptist convention, and they were just like, this is freedom of religion being trampled on. So these are the kind of things that are going on behind the scenes. And of course, there was a church in Mississippi they ticketed the people that went to the service that was in a drive-in theater type of deal and watching the service, but they were all in their cars. They were properly distanced. There's just weird stuff going on, trampling on the First Amendment freedom of religion and free speech out there, all at the altar of trying to abide by these COVID-19 rules. I'm very disturbed by a lot of the things that are happening. But I'm not nearly as disturbed as what I'm going to tell you about next. And if you watched my stories here on Instagram or you looked at my page, you would see that I wrote about this morning. There is a cardiologist over in the UK that I absolutely adore. His name's Dr. Aseem Malhotra. So Aseem is one of the lifestyle medicine doctors over there, trying to get people in Europe and around the world to pay more attention to the role that diet plays in chronic disease and health. And so he's done a really good job over the years. Well, today he penned an article in the European Scientist. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I did do a whole post about it here on Instagram today. But basically, he's making the statement that if we want to get to the heart of who's most at risk behind COVID-19, we need to look at the ones that are the most sick. Now, where I thought he was going with this is looking for the people with metabolic damage, insulin resistance, and had he done that, I would have been, yeah, you're right. Those are the people that could possibly be most susceptible to this. But that's not what he did. What he did was he identified if you are obese or overweight, you are at the greatest risk. Now, obesity is a tricky one because very rarely do we have obesity as an isolated risk factor. Usually obesity comes with what's called comorbidities, other factors. In fact, let me see if I can show you on screen. I took screenshots of a few of the things. Let's see. Is that it? No. What is that? I thought I had it on there. Okay, maybe not on this phone. But basically it was the, it was basically they were talking about obesity alone in his article being a risk factor. And I'm going, okay, was it the obesity that causes the inflammation cascade and the virus, more susceptible to viruses, or was it other things that were going on with that? And this was the thing that I thought Dr. Malhotra missed the boat on. Like, he's calling obesity the real killer with COVID. He put it right there in his article. And I'm going, okay, what about those people who have obesity, but they don't have metabolic damage? They don't have issues going on with high triglycerides, with high insulin, with high blood sugar, with high inflammation levels. When you don't have those other things going on, can you say it's the obesity, or would you say it's the obesity related diseases that come along with it? So I publicly called him out today. I think we need to be very clear, especially in this time where people are paying attention to people like Dr. Malhotra to try to give them reliable information about staying safe from COVID-19. I think it's irresponsible to just simply point the finger at obesity and obesity alone when there are very clearly other factors going on in your health. And I think it just sets this dangerous precedent of pointing the finger at fat people and shaming them for their fatness when someone can possibly have weight on their body still and yet be metabolically healthy. Why don't we put the focus on metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance and helping those patients understand why those things matter and take the focus off of obesity? Yes, obesity is part of those things, but it's not the totality of those things. All right, so if you missed it, go check out my post on Instagram. I did post it all over Facebook as well. Go check it out. Alrighty, so let's see what you guys have to say. We're gonna go right to the questions that you have. This is an Ask Me Anything, so I'm gonna remind you here on Facebook as well as here on Instagram Live, please ask your questions. Literally ask anything you want. We will do our best, and we have an hour, you guys, so please fill up with questions, or this is gonna be a very boring Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. All right. Kelly has the first question. What a great first question too, Kelly. Thank you for this. What is the ideal blood glucose number? What a great question. So let's start with what normal should be when you are in a fasted state. So let's say you wake up in the, well, we're going to skip the morning for now. In a fasted state in general, 60 to 100 is considered normal. Now, if you're under 60, it doesn't mean you're abnormal. If you're over 100 a little, it doesn't mean you're abnormal. But generally speaking, that 60 to 100 is the range that you're looking for. Now, doctors would look at anything under 80 and say you have hypoglycemia. But for those of us that eat a ketogenic diet, or you do some fasting of intermittent fasting or extended fasting, you might see those levels go down well below 80. But in general, if you stay below 100, that's typically considered a pretty ideal blood glucose number, again, in a fasted state. Now, the wrinkles in this are a myriad. When you eat, obviously, it's hard to stay within that tight 60 to 100 range. Even if you eat keto, you eat low carb, you eat carnivore, whatever you're doing, you're going to probably see what's called a postprandial reading. At 1 hour, where the glucose might be somewhere between 100 to 130, okay? If you had carbohydrates, you might see that range go all the way up to 180 to 200 at 1 hour after eating postprandial, okay? So those are kind of the general ranges that you're looking for. When you eat low carb, generally you're gonna stay pretty tight within that 60 and even after eating to 120 range. The key factor when you're testing after eating is test at baseline, and let's say it's 80. Then you eat the meal, and then 1 hour postprandial, it's at 110, for example. And then at 2 hours after eating postprandial, it's back to like 85. That is a perfect response to eating food. People freak out because they're like, I ate food and my blood sugar went up. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. That is what's supposed to happen. But what's supposed to happen is your body recovers and you're able to, through insulin, proper insulin, doing what it's doing, bringing your blood sugar back down. The problem is people generally eat food, then it spikes up at 1 hour, then at 2 hours, it's spiking again, or it's staying elevated and not coming back down. That generally does not happen with a meal of fat and protein, but it definitely can happen for people that don't handle carbohydrate very well, and thus it stays elevated. And so that's the thing. So one more wrinkle in this about ideal blood glucose. People freak out, and I get emails all the time. Somebody just wrote me on a DM on Instagram yesterday about this. Why is my morning fasting blood glucose so elevated? And so there is this thing called a dawn phenomenon that's actually a glucose sparing effect. So there are glucose dependent functions in the body. You want to make sure you have that glucose. Well, what happens is the body's very intelligent, and it knows that, especially when you're eating a ketogenic diet or carnivore diet, it knows in the morning time you're going to need that extra glucose. So what it does is, as part of the cortisol response that helps wake you up, it raises blood sugar levels. So you might be perfectly keto, hardly eating any carbs at all, and yet you wake up in the morning and you see a 110, 115, maybe 120, 125, and you freak out. Guys, that is completely and absolutely normal. What happens is, once you get up and you get moving, all of that glucose in your blood system then gets sent out to all those glucose dependent functions in the body, which include the brain, the heart, and really every part of your body. And if you test 2-3 hours after you wake up and you see that initial higher reading, almost invariably you'll see your true blood glucose level will be in definitely the low 90s, if not lower. So people freak out needlessly. Oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? I haven't had any carbs. I'll tell you, I've been in a full-on extended fast before where I have fasted for 14 days. And on day 12 of a fast, I saw a 127 blood glucose in the morning. I had not eaten anything in that long, and yet there's the glucose because the body is very smart at getting exactly what you need when you need it. So I hope that helps you out, Kelly. Thanks for that question. Linda says it sure is strange about Facebook. Yeah, I'm thinking there's something going on, user error, but we're going to try to figure it out here. Kat says, I wish I wore a continuous glucose monitor during that whole time. I'm sure it's not my normal. Yeah, CGMs are pretty powerful. I've got some, and I want to be doing some testing with CGMs while we're in the midst of this COVID-19. Just to kind of show you guys how it works. It's pretty easy. Just stick it in your arm, and then it's good for a couple weeks to give you data. So, yeah, we'll show you that soon. Lockwood says, being home and out of work is causing me to snack more. Any tips? Yeah, well, number one, don't keep snacks around that aren't keto friendly. I will tell you, I made some keto brownies this morning. I bought the mix from Keto & Co. They're not a sponsor or anything. I just love their keto brownie mix. And so they're in there cooling down now. And it's okay to have little snacks like that. And it sounds like you're having some that aren't so keto. Don't beat yourself up right now. Like, obviously, I think it's not ideal to be eating that kind of thing, but people feel like they need that kind of thing because they're bored. And if you're eating out of boredom, then just be aware of what's going on. I did a whole Jimmy rants about this, by the way, about dietitians giving you permission to just eat up all the junk food you want right now because we're all going through a tough time and we need comfort food. Well, you can comfort yourself in ways without totally jeopardizing your health. Like, we're going to come on the other side of this COVID-19 thing pretty quickly at some point, and you don't want to have to now make up all this time that you lost because you decided to, quote, comfort yourself with crappy garbage. Why not try to stay as close as you can to being good and having these like keto snacks? So those brownies are beautiful. I should run in there and grab those. Yeah, not right now. I'm still talking to you guys, but the main point is just try when you do eat food to eat nutrient-dense foods. That will take away some of that propensity to want to snack. Find activities that would take your mind off of being bored. So if you're bored and you're eating, that's a whole nother subject from you're actually physiologically eating. So check yourself before you eat something. Am I eating because I'm actually hungry? And when I'm hungry, I'm going to choose foods that will nourish me, hopefully real whole foods as much as possible. Or am I just bored and I got nothing better to do, so let's put Fritos in my mouth? So there's a big difference there. Lena said, yeah, I made this mistake when I first started keto. Tried to do a 24-hour fast before I was good and fat adapted. Did not work out so great since I'm hypoglycemic. Yeah. And on this fasting, I've been meaning to do a Jimmy Rants about this, but I think I'll just do a short little riff here. A lot of people have said, hey, why aren't you doing like a fasting challenge in the midst of this COVID-19? It's the perfect time. Why don't we all fast? Da-da-da-da-da. And I'm going, okay, think about it for a moment. You're all under a stressed state. We just had a question about someone saying, what do I do about wanting to snack because I'm at home all the time and ostensibly stressed? So we're already under stress. Guess what fasting is? It's a stressor. So when you are stressed already because of a situation like COVID-19 and having to be quarantined and the disruption of your life, then you add on top of that an additional stressor like a 7-day fast, for example. I think it's a recipe for disaster. I think you're asking for hunger to come on with a vengeance. And one thing that I've always talked about and taught when it comes to fasting is make sure you're not in a crazy part of your life at the moment that you try to do an extended fast, because it's in that moment when you're going to fail the most. Set yourself up to succeed, not to fail. And if you try to fast and you're stressed about COVID-19, you're going to find in day 2 the intense feelings of hunger are going to overwhelm you, and I think would lead to a binge of some bad foods. So not a fan of doing fasting at this time. Now, that said, if you're fasting and you're loving it and you're able to go long periods of time without eating and good for you. Please do it. I think that's wonderful. But for the vast majority of people who aren't used to fasting, or even if you are used to fasting like me, I've done many very long fasts. I know my body well enough. I'm not fasting right now. That would be crazy. Now, if I had to fast because I didn't have any food or whatever, I could, but I don't want to unless I absolutely have to. Cindy says, have you ever heard any correlation between keto causing pancreatitis? I can't imagine why keto would cause pancreatitis. I mean, think about what the pancreas does. It squirts out insulin in response to carbohydrate to help manage your blood sugar levels. So keto, to me, seems like it would not make your pancreas work as hard and thus would not lead to disease of the pancreas. I've literally never heard any correlation, no study that ever shows being on a low-carb, high-fat ketogenic diet causing pancreatitis. And in fact, I would surmise and come to the conclusion it's probably exactly the opposite. It probably would be helpful if you did get pancreatitis. So I hope that helps. All right, so Beth has the question, why it's not a good idea to fast now. Thank you, Beth. I just answered even before I saw your question. She says, I'm lacking appetite mostly, but also having ravenous bouts of hunger, always feeling bloated right now regardless. Yeah, and that's your body trying to adjust to what is going on. Yeah, so what I said previously still applies. Mama Orr says, what do you think about weight gain? Even though I'm staying on track, I think it's my hormones, but very frustrating. Right now, especially you guys, like I've stepped on the scale a few times in the midst of this COVID-19. I pretty much have been eating just eggs cooked in butter with some cheese and some keto chow shakes. And that's pretty much what I've subsisted on in the last week and a half. I did finally get a check from my publisher yesterday, by the way. I know a lot of you worry about me economically. I did finally get my check, so I'm going to be okay for a bit. But wow, like I could see where some of the stress could be making the scale stay in place. And so Mama Ors, you're not alone. A lot of people are eating all the right things. I was just telling you, I'm just having eggs in the keto chow and I'm still maintaining the weight. Now, under normal circumstances, that would make you lose weight. But unfortunately, I think these are strange times. If you can maintain your weight in the midst of this COVID-19, it's almost as good as losing weight under normal circumstances. So don't beat yourself up about it. I would say stop getting on the scale. Keep doing all the things that you know to do. Do your best to lower stress. And just know that there are other factors involved besides what you're eating that could be impacting that weight. Kelly says, I have histamine reactions to everything except for suet and steak. Do you have any gut healing suggestions? Oh, there's all kind of gut healing suggestions. I definitely would encourage you to go check out my Real Talk co-host website. Dr. Will Cole is his name. drwillcole.com, drwillcole.com. He's got a ton of articles all about gut health and healing, various adaptogens that you can eat, what foods you should avoid, what kind of supplements you can take, lifestyle things you can do to improve your gut health. It's not a death sentence to have these histamine reactions. You're not alone. But go look at what he has to share on his website. So I hope that helps you, Kelly. Yay, caught you live, says Carrie NC. Thank you. Probiotics and prebiotics, says Patty. Are you asking, am I pro or con those? Or I say both. I mean, if you're asking either or, I say why not both? Prebiotics are those fibers that then feed into the gut bacteria to keep them healthy and strong and all that. Probiotics is actually repopulating your gut. Now, be careful with probiotics because sometimes people go, oh, I want to repopulate my gut. And so you put all these new organisms into your system and then you use prebiotics on top of that while the bad ones are still in there. Well, when you do that, you're going to cause a you-know-what storm in your gut. So just be careful. I think both can be useful under the right circumstances. Definitely try to talk to a functional medicine doctor. to kind of evaluate what your gut health is so you know the appropriate response about how to change. All right, so let me pop over here now to my Facebook page. Thank you, Instagram. See what you guys have to say. Mitzi says, how are you? I'm doing good. Just living life, trying to do my thing here on Jimmy Rants, staying active, just trying to stay chill, focusing in on my sleep, and just doing all the things that I know how to do. But thank you for asking, Mitzi. David says, maybe it's your secure software blocking your location. Oh, okay, that's a good point, David. Thank you for that, by the way, David. Suggesting that why my Living La Vida Low Carb Facebook page isn't working, isn't letting me get on. So I know they're probably going, where are you today? But I'll try to figure it out. I've got some techie guys in my life that help me with some of my work, so I'll see if they can get on that for me. But thank you again for that suggestion, and thank you for watching Jimmy Rants. All right, any other questions, you guys? Beth says, if I don't have an appetite, but I still feel hungry, would it be okay to exist on butter and MCT oil? Ooh. I'm not a fan of just making your sole source of nutrition just fat. I would think, Beth, if anything, just have some meat, which would have fat and protein. I'd be very concerned about the no amino acids. So no, I'm not a fan of just existing on butter and MCT oil. Can you have like a little bit of like beef? Like a beef steak or something, and eat on that? I hear you though. Although keep in mind, when you don't have an appetite, sometimes that is a sign that your stomach acid is low. So you're actually hungry, but your stomach is not giving you the signal that you're hungry because the stomach acid is low. This is where you need to make sure you get plenty of zinc, primarily to help replenish that stomach acid. So I think in this time of quarantine, we all need to pay attention to our gut health and keeping inflammation low and prioritizing sleep and all the things that will make us healthy. Yeshua's daughter says, could we drink protein shakes on an OMAD instead of food? Well, the problem with a protein shake, I don't know what brand you're using. Sometimes the protein source is inferior. It's got soy, maybe even whey protein. Some people have questions about whey protein and its healthfulness and whether it spikes insulin, blah, blah, blah. The thing I like about the keto chow shakes is they're high fat shakes, not high protein. So if you eat OMAD, can you get enough in a protein shake? Can you get enough nutrition in that one meal? Like you'd have to drink, 2-3 of them to get enough for your whole meals for the whole day. So that would be my major concern if you do that. I would think if you're going to do one meal a day, try to do real whole foods and get a sizable meal in there with food that's mostly fat and protein, maybe a little bit of carbs and vegetables. Cariana wants to know, did you go anywhere interesting on sabbatical? Actually, no. I was pretty much a homebody. Like when I went away, I went to Myrtle Beach for 2 weeks on vacation. Then I got back. I did do a little bit of traveling while I was gone. I went to see my buddy Tom in Tennessee. I went and saw some friends a few times. There was a group of friends that got together for Thanksgiving, the whole Friendsgiving. We did that. Yeah, I didn't really go anywhere. Like the point of being away on the sabbatical was solely to try to relax and refresh and recharge. Well, it's hard to do that when you're traveling, and I'm so used to traveling with what I do in the day-to-day of my work normally that not being anywhere and just staying at home was actually glorious. So that's what I did most of the time during the sabbatical. Shirley says, no questions, just getting my Jimmy fix. Well, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Adina O'Hare says, do you think your sabbatical helped with the COVID-19 stress? Oh, girl, yes. Like I've been trying to share some of the wisdom that I gained in the midst of being gone on sabbatical with people now, because everybody was thrust into their own version of a sabbatical when all this COVID-19 stuff went down. And so I already experienced that like a full 6 months before all you guys did. And the only difference is I chose to be socially distanced, physically distanced from people during that time. Now it's kind of being forced on all of us. So that's the only kind of big difference. But Yes, like I learned practices in the midst of my day that said, okay, go chill, go do things that are fun. So absolutely, it helped me. It's one reason I've been able to stay so positive and so relaxed and chilled. Yeah, I've had the stresses, the obvious ones that I've talked about, but overall, I think I'm doing far better than had this happened like 1 year ago now. I would not be handling it near as well as I'm handling it now. Beth says, I just don't want to be hypocaloric and I'm afraid I can't eat enough. Yeah, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that when they're not hungry, they're afraid of eating too few calories. And let me tell you, it's better to eat 0 calories at all and just totally fast on a day than to have just a little bit of calories, like 400 or 500 calories, and that's all you eat for the day. Because here's what you're telling your body. When you give it 400 to 500 calories, it's like, all right, good. Come on. All right, let's go. Come on. And then you don't give it any more, it starts revolting. Whereas if you're fasting, it's like, okay, dummy up there is not putting any food in there. So maybe food's not available. Okay, well, let's just kind of keep things going and everything's fine. But when you give it a little bit of food, you're fooling your body into thinking you're going to get more food. Then when you don't give it to it, your metabolism slows down and you have lots of bad reactions. So just keep that in mind, that if you know you're not really that hungry, choose not to eat at all and then eat the next day. But the worst thing you can do is have only 400 or 500 calories and thinking that that's better because you had a little something. Have nothing or have a full meal worth of food. That makes sense? Anita suggests having bone broth. Bone broth is good. It's not many calories. 1 cup of bone broth is only 50 calories. So I suppose you could put a little bit of fat in there to boost the calories. But yeah, you're not going to get enough nutrition just drinking bone broth. Even a bite of bacon makes me feel extremely bloated. Now that's interesting because there's nothing in bacon that should make you bloated. That's kind of weird. Brittany says, Friendsgiving was so awesome. I hope we get to do it again. Oh, I'm sure it'll happen in one form or another. Maybe we'll do it here in Spartanburg, South Carolina the next time, Brittany, and invite all you guys here. Cariana says, Fathead Tom, by the way, he's the only reason I began this low-carb journey. I will let him know that. He's a good personal friend of mine, and I'm sure he would love to hear that. Okay, so I put out there for some questions. Okay, so I'm trying to see, where did those questions go? Oh, you know what? I did another question after I put out for questions. And when you do a second question, it negates all the previous ones. I don't think there was anything in there. I think somebody was just saying hello. And so, hi. I don't remember what the other one was. It wasn't a big question or I would have like highlighted it. But anyway, any last questions before we pop off here? Got lots of time left, you guys. Literally any question you want to ask when we do these Ask Me Anythings. No question is off limits. A lot of people are still asking me about Christine. The answer is still the same. We are separated and we asked for privacy at this time. There was probably 6 different people asking about her today. And so that's the answer. We're separated and we ask that you respect our privacy. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's Ask Me Anything. I try to basically open the floor because during the week I have very specific Jimmy Rants topics that I stay on. And so if you go off topic, I don't really go off topic, but today is the day that you would have the ability to ask questions. So Kelly says, have you heard of teeth tightening up from going carnivore? I haven't heard that, but it seems to me anything that would not weaken your teeth structure would be good. And so there's nothing in eating meat that would weaken your teeth structure other than just having to chew the protein, which could be a little rough on your teeth. But as far as like anything that would make your teeth less strong, no. In fact, here on Instagram, there is a username, Ask the Dentist, Dr. Mark. I love his work. He's always talking about the relationship of tooth health to your total health. So definitely go check out him here on Instagram. All right, you guys, looks like you're all out of questions, but thank you for coming here today on this Ask Me Anything. I do love hanging out with you. I will be gone the next couple of days. Like I said, on the weekends, I'm trying to chill. And one of the things that I really enjoy doing when I'm off on the weekends is just popping in the car and just driving for like a little bit of a joyride. Like, get out of your house, even if you can't drive somewhere. If you could get out in your neighborhood and walk around, I think that would be really helpful for a lot of people, because they all feel like they're all, cooped up in their houses and they're not allowed to get out. You're not forced to stay inside of your house all the time. Get outdoors, get the sun that you need, get fresh air, get all of the things, because that's going to be helpful to your health. So we got a few more questions that have come in on Instagram. Krista says, will you please clear up the protein confusion for me? I have read too much protein at once will turn into glucose. So let me explain this one, because a lot of people attribute me as spreading false information about this concept called gluconeogenesis. So gluconeogenesis is this process that happens in the body, that when your body gets enough protein for all the protein needs in your body, all the amino acid needs, and you still have protein left to be dealt with, it's got nowhere to put it in the body. Your body doesn't store protein. What it can do is convert that protein over into a usable source of energy in the body. So that protein, in excess of what your body needs, can go to the liver and then get converted over into glucose, which is sugar in the body. This is why some people, not everybody, but some people can eat a large amount of protein and they see a glucose spike on the blood glucose meter. Not everybody. Usually it's those with the most insulin resistance, and they're the ones that have to be careful on a well-formulated ketogenic diet. It's one that's low in carbohydrate, moderate in protein, and high in fat. So it's the moderate in protein where people all lose their you-know-what over. And I've explained this until I'm blue in the face, but people still try to misrepresent what I say. I'm not saying eating protein is bad. I never have. If you eat the protein that comes with natural fats, that is the best way to get in. Protein and fat is in its natural form, primarily in animal-based foods. The ratio between fat and protein in an egg, for example, is almost absolutely perfect. The ratio of fat to protein in a ribeye steak, again, perfect. What you're not wanting to do is just eat chicken breast, and not enough butter in the world on top of chicken breast is going to help that chicken breast be any healthier for you. Avoid chicken breast if at all possible. So the short answer is no. Protein is not going to turn into glucose automatically. It's only going to do it when the amino acid requirements for the body have been fulfilled and there's nowhere else for the protein to go. So I hope that helps you out with that question, Krista. Thank you for that. Pink Piggy Pundit, hello, I missed out again. Well, you're just a little bit late. We will definitely have the replay for you at jimmyrants.com, and of course on YouTube if you want to watch the replay. Beth says, are you still working out? So unfortunately, Beth, no, if I'm being honest. The consistency with workouts has been incredibly hard, and I've also been focusing on other parts of my health in the midst of this. I've been really working hard on my sleep. And so for me, sleep is the priority, and I'm going to keep it the priority for now, because when I'm sleeping well, then all the other parts of my body can function best. So no, I'm not one of those people that are out here saying, go do your home workout, da da da. It's not like I'm being a sloth and just eating bonbons sitting on my couch all day. I'm not doing that, but I'm not being purposeful in doing these really intensive workouts. Now I still have my tractor tire over there, and I probably at some point will do a Jimmy Rants flipping that bad boy and getting into it. But just right now, the time is not now. I've felt tension in my muscles. I'm trying to focus on things that will stabilize me. And for me, I think the sleep being the priority is much bigger than the exercise. Lynn wants to know, is there any good advice for remotivating myself? I lost my mom and father-in-law. Sorry about that. I lost 65 pounds eating keto, but was heavily grieved over these losses. And I allowed garbage back in. Now it's time to get back, but I'm struggling. Hey, don't beat yourself up. I can tell you, I lost my brother Kevin in 2008, He was 41 years old, and he had major heart disease and diabetes and morbid obesity. And he was taken at the age of 41. And so I get it. When you're grieving, it's hard. And what's funny is people judge you. Well, you lost 65 pounds. What happened? Without getting the context of how in the world you gained back. And for me, I never went off plan. You say you have, and that's totally understandable. People do that. I never went off plan, and yet I still gained weight back. I think there's something that's a part of the grieving process we have to give ourselves grace over. And it's a traumatic experience. And what I'm learning about childhood trauma, with what I've been talking about a lot lately in my own life, it applies to any traumatic event. And so if you lost both your mom and your father-in-law in the exact same time, just about, that was two major traumatic events, give yourself some grace. The best suggestion I can tell you is just get back on plan. Don't step on a scale. Try to do, the best that you can to deal with the grieving still. Because, quite frankly, you never get over something like that. It's been 12 years with my brother Kevin, and I still have moments where I'm crying that he's gone. And that's never going to go away. But what you do is you manage in the day-to-day, and you do what you can in the meantime. And of course, right now, being all cooped up in your house probably isn't helping much, Lynn. So grace to yourself, self-love, get back on plan, reread my book, Keto Clarity, or whatever basic keto book, and just get back on plan again. But don't beat yourself up about this. You've been through some major trauma, and you need to be kind to yourself in the midst of the healing from that. Krista wants to know, do you take anything for sleep like melatonin? All right, Krista, thank you for this question. Can I tell you Jimmy's hot take for the day? Don't take melatonin. What? I thought melatonin helped with sleep. Let me tell you a story from Jimmy's life. So a few years ago, I was starting to deal with having trouble sleeping. And so I had heard and interviewed people on my podcast about taking melatonin for improving your sleep. And they were like, no, don't get the pills, get the liquid melatonin. So here I am getting this little eyedropper thing, and I'm sticking the liquid melatonin in my mouth. Oh, well, if one vial's good, let's do two. And so I was putting a crap load of melatonin in my body. I was out like a light, sleeping so good for about a month. 1 month later, I'm wide awake. Despite taking a high dose of melatonin, I was wide awake in the middle of the night. Could not figure out how in the world am I sleeping for like 3 or 4 hours and then wide awake at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And it turns out, I've learned from people like Nora Gedgaudas, when you take a melatonin supplement, your body's own natural ability to make melatonin shuts completely off. Okay? So when you want melatonin, you want it made endogenously, not taking it exogenously. So I am not a fan of taking melatonin as a sleep aid. What I am a fan of is several things. Magnesium, 1 hour before you go to bed. Nice way to knock yourself out. Sunlight during the day. Now this one seems so weird. What do you mean sun during the day helps you sleep at night? If you get sun at 8 o'clock in the morning, just generally in the morning, noon, 4 o'clock, and right before sunset. If you get those 4 times of the day where sun comes in your eye, and I don't look at the sun, but sun is out there and you let it hit your eyeballs, it makes your circadian rhythm turn on. And what you're looking for with good sleep is getting a good circadian rhythm. This is why when the sun goes down, you guys, even like as early as 6:30 or 7, even before it's all the way down, as it's going down, I'm sitting here getting sleepy because my body is so in tune with that circadian rhythm that by the time 8 or 9 o'clock comes around, I am so tired that I'm out like a light. And I've been posting my sleep results here on my stories on Instagram if you want to go see some of my Oura Ring data. But I've been getting some really killer deep sleep and REM sleep lately because I'm doing that sun exercise primarily. Light walking also helps. Meditation, really anything that will lower stress in your body will also help you sleep. Making sure that your sleep environment is cool is another one. I've got a fan that blows on me, one on top of me, and even like as it's been a little bit cooler outside, I've turned on the air conditioning at 65 degrees. So keep it nice and cool where you're sleeping, dark as possible. If you've got blackout curtains or blinds, try to use those. All of these things, you guys, are helpful. Now, don't eat too late because your body would have to digest. Don't drink too late so you don't have to get up to go to the bathroom so much in the middle of the night. All of these things matter to help in your sleep. So I hope that helps you out, Krista. And Brittany, as soon as I say don't take melatonin, my friend Brittany says the same thing. So Beth says, I have to admit, I do take some melatonin and have during this crisis. Typically, I don't. My experience has been the same as yours, and I become an insomniac. It happens. It really does. And it takes a long time to get it to turn back on again. Taking melatonin decreases the body's own ability to make it, and when you do stop it, it can kick back in naturally. Exactly what I said, Beth. Thank you for that. Don't forget there's different kinds of magnesium, Lena says. Yeah, magnesium citrate is the one you want to avoid unless you like poopy pants. Citrate's the main one to avoid. Magnesium glycinate tends to be one of the better ones if you're going to try to use it as a sleep aid. Again, take it 1 hour before you go to bed, and you should sleep like a baby. Beth wants to know if I have a discount code for the Oura Ring. Actually, Beth, I have asked them. It's spelled Oura, by the way. I have asked them to be a sponsor because I'm such a fan of the data. And they said, we're pretty much not interested in you promoting us. And I'm going, okay, well, that's too bad. And, I like companies that make good products, and I do think this is a good product, but no, they're not scratching my back. So I get literally no kickback if you do get an Oura Ring. JC wants to know how much magnesium do you take? So personally, I get the magnesium that is in my multi, and I sleep like a baby. When you're just starting, you want to try to get the basic dosage, JC. Don't feel like you have to go super high dose or anything, but just get the basic dosage that's on the bottle. And then if you're finding that you're not getting benefit, then up it a little bit. Always start low. And again, avoid the magnesium citrate if at all possible, unless you like diarrhea pants, because you only do that once. I did that one time where I accidentally got the citrate, and I took it because I, quote, heard it was good for sleep. And I think I pooped like 12 times that night. It was horrible. It was really horrible. Another alternative to getting magnesium, by the way, into your body is to take an Epsom salt bath 1 hour before bedtime, because that is loaded with magnesium. And of course, it would get absorbed through your skin. So you could soak in an Epsom bath, which feels good anyway. So you could do that as an alternative source of getting some magnesium into your body. All right, guys, so this is Ask Me Anything. I've got a few more minutes left. You got any last minute questions, literally about anything that you want to ask me? I am totally game to talk about it. So pop on, ask your question. I am going to get out there and enjoy that sun. It is so, so beautiful the last few days. A little bit cooler, but that's okay. It's going to be interesting once it gets really, really hot outside if these COVID-19 cases start to go down, because they're saying it doesn't like the heat. And so I wonder if we might see a natural healing start to take place of the COVID-19 just because it gets hot everywhere. Now, where it's still cool and it's snowing and that, all bets are off. But where it starts to get warmer first, I wonder, will those cases of COVID-19 go down? I'll be interested in seeing that. JC wants to know how much Epsom salt do you put in the bath? As much as you want. Usually it's got a scoop in there, and I'll put a scoop or two into some bath water and then just soak in that. So it's pretty easy to do an Epsom salt. If you've never soaked in Epsom salts before, oh, dude, like that's not just for the ladies. Like, it's going to be good. And if you exercise a lot, it's good for muscle recovery as well. That magnesium does a lot of really good things in the body. So don't neglect getting in an Epsom salt bath if you have trouble sleeping or recovering from workouts. It's just overall a very good thing. Kat says Florida was in almost 90 degrees when it started, so don't count heat. I don't know, Kat. I've read some things where they said when it gets warmer, it's going to be a little bit easier to bring this under control. Plus, I wonder how many people will get better because of some of the things like fresh air. Like more people will be outside if they let us stop being socially distanced. Will the fresh air help? Will the exposure to more sun help? Will a lot of things help? So it'll be interesting to watch as this progresses, especially as they get us out of lockdown. At some point, we're going to get out of lockdown. What happens when it becomes warmer temperature? Will they credit coming out of lockdown as that, or will they give credit to the sun, to the breath of fresh air? I don't know. It's going to be really fascinating to watch it all. Beth says Bruce Lipton talks about warmer air in his video that I sent to you. Yeah. I'm going to try to listen to that this weekend when I have a little downtime. So thank you, Beth, for that. So, all right. So you guys have gone mum on the questions for this Ask Me Anything. So I'm going to stop it right here. Thanks for watching Jimmy Rants. As always, go to jimmyrants.com for all the past episodes if you missed any of them. But you got to go follow me over on Instagram. That is where we originate this show. We also simulcast on Facebook. And sometimes we simulcast on my Living La Vida Low Carb Facebook. But today I've been locked out for some reason. So go check it out. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. And sometimes we do a 5 p.m. one. I will not do a 5 p.m. Eastern Time today, and definitely none over the weekend, but I'll be back on Monday with a brand new episode at 11 a.m. You can also go to jimmyrants.com, see the past episodes. Also, YouTube, type in the keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. So, guys, thanks for joining us here today on Jimmy Rants. We'll be back in a few days. And until then, we'll see you then. All right.